Well, welcome to this special broadcast here on DD India on the G20 Summit and all the news that we are tracking at the top of this hour. I am Anil Thomas. Let's get started with the headlines. India hands over G20 Presidency to Brazil. President Lula da Silva congratulates India for effective leadership. The world showers praise on India's G20 leadership, reaching the Delhi Declaration with a balance struck on Ukraine. The Morocco earthquake death toll crosses 2,000, with survivors sleeping out in the open in the cold. Arch rivals India and Pakistan face off in cricket in Colombo. Pakistan win the toss, choose to bowl first. Well, India has handed over from India to Brazil. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has handed over to Lula da Silva the baton or the gavel as the next holder of the G20 presidency. The Brazilian leader has praised Prime Minister Modi's leadership during this year's G20 Summit. President da Silva said that the preparatory ministerial meetings will be hosted in several cities in all 5 regions of Brazil. All G20 member nations are expected to attend the Rio de Janeiro summit in November next year.
मैं G20 समिट के समापन की घोषणा करता हूं। वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर का रोड मैप सुखद हो। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य, यानी संपूर्ण विश्व में आशा और शांति का संचार हो। 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की इसी मंगल कामना के साथ आप सभी का बहुत-बहुत धन्यवाद।
Addressing the closing session of G20 Summit, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva congratulated Indian Prime Minister Modi for efficiently leading the G20 bloc.
I'd like to congratulate Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the efficient leading of the Indian presidency of the G20 and for the excellent work done in preparing this summit, and also with all the care that he and they gave us in these days that we spent with you. I thank India for its efforts to give voice, for giving voice to the topics of interest to emerging economies. So I would also like to give my salute to our friend, the representative of the African Union, who is a member of G20.
Well, after handing over the presidency, Prime Minister Modi said India has the responsibility of G20 presidency till November this year.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, जैसा आप सब जानते हैं, भारत के पास नवंबर तक G20 प्रेसिडेंसी की भी जिम्मेदारी है। अभी 2.5 महीने बाकी हैं। इन 2 दिनों में आप सभी ने अनेक बातें यहां रखी हैं, सुझाव दिए हैं, बहुत सारे प्रस्ताव रखे हैं। हमारी ये जिम्मेदारी है कि जो सुझाव आए हैं उनको भी एक बार फिर देखा जाए कि उनकी प्रगति में गति कैसे लाई जा सकती है। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि हम नवंबर के अंत में G20 का एक वर्चुअल सेशन और रखें। उस सेशन में हम इस समिट के दौरान तय विषयों की समीक्षा कर सकते हैं। इन सब की डिटेल्स हमारी टीम आप सभी के साथ शेयर करेगी। मैं उम्मीद करता हूं कि आप सब इससे जुड़ेंगे। योर हाइनेसेस, एक्सेलेंसीज, इसी के साथ मैं G20 समिट के समापन की घोषणा करता हूं। वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर का रोड मैप सुखद हो। स्वस्ति अस्तु विश्वस्य, यानी संपूर्ण विश्व में आशा और शांति का संचार हो। 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की इसी मंगल कामना के साथ आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Well, Chief Coordinator of India's G20 Presidency, Harshvardhan Shringla, has spoken about the New Delhi declaration adopted at G20 Summit. Shringla stressed that reaching consensus on the first day of the presidency is tremendously positive news.
We have certainly, I think, in many senses, ensured that the Prime Minister's vision of an ambitious, outcome-oriented, inclusive presidency would be held, I think has been seen in every aspect of the way that we've conducted our presidency right up to the end. And in many senses, I think, the fact that we have an outcome document that reflects consensus among all of our G20 partners, and those partners are from, as you know, from the developed world and from the emerging economies, I think is an extraordinary achievement, but also answers your question that yes, we have achieved that objective, but more important, we've achieved the objectives of the Global South. We've achieved the objectives of articulating the voice of the Global South in the G20 and addressing their core concerns. And we see the outcome documents, this is what it is. We have addressed the requirements and concerns of the Global South.
Well, as the summit concludes, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is holding bilateral talks with some of the visiting leaders. A short while ago, he met French President Emmanuel Macron on the sidelines of the summit. India and France enjoy close and friendly relations. 2023 marks the 25th anniversary of their strategic partnership. It's been a strong and perhaps strategic friendship between France and India for years. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the first leader. Prime Minister Macron met after his re-election last year. The relationship has now reached a new level of cooperation, with France providing several defense and engineering equipment to India.
On its day of national celebration in July, a guest of honor for France. Paris rolling out the red carpet for Prime Minister Narendra Modi. A visit that marked a new milestone in relations between the two countries.
मैं अपने मित्र प्रेसिडेंट मैक्रो के साथ नेशनल डे परेड का हिस्सा बनूंगा। ये आत्मीयता सिर्फ दो देशों के नेताओं के बीच नहीं है, बल्कि ये भारत फ्रांस की अटूट दोस्ती का प्रतिबिंब है, रिफ्लेक्शन है।
India's Prime Minister and the French President Emmanuel Macron keen to forge closer ties between their nations. And to mark the 25th anniversary of their nation's strategic partnership, the two leaders shared selfies on social media, a sign of the warmth between the two leaders, reinforced when Prime Minister Modi was awarded France's highest honor. It's been a strong and perhaps strategic friendship between these two for years. The Prime Minister was the first leader President Macron met after his re-election last year. Now, with India's presidency of the G20, the Prime Minister will host the man he calls his friend. And it's a friendship that has improved the military and economic ties between the two countries. For decades, India has largely relied on Russian defense equipment. It's now shifting to buy more French hardware, like the contract to buy Rafale warplanes for the Indian Air Force, as well as the French Scorpion submarines. It's a win-win It's a boost for the French defense industry, and it meets India's defense needs. And now, there's also a joint venture, India and France agreeing to make warplane engines together. That's a breakthrough for India's defense industry as well. India and France have been close allies in trade, defense, and in the Pacific, but the friendship between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron has only given a strong impetus to the growing relations between these two countries, and this bond is expected to grow only stronger in the coming years. In New Delhi, Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Well, earlier this morning, G20 leaders and international delegates visited the memorial site of India's father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi. The group led by Prime Minister Modi paid tributes at the complex known as Raj Ghat. The world leaders laid wreaths to honor the memory of Gandhi. A black marble platform marks the spot of Gandhi's last rites. Prime Minister Modi also greeted the G20 leaders individually at the site. As each one arrived, they received a shawl from the Indian leader. There were also live performances of devotional songs dedicated to the father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, that was played at the venue. While world leaders there converging early in the morning, remembering, taking forward the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi, especially when it comes to universalism, also for that matter, the motto that India believed in, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. The three topics that were deliberated over the last 2 days, where we got you all the action as it unfolded. And early in the morning on day 2, world leaders converging there at Raj Ghat to pay their respects, to pay their homage to the father of the nation. At the summit, the president of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, and the president of Brazil, Lula da Silva, gave Prime Minister Modi a tree sapling for a planting ceremony.
Thank you. Kindly vacate the room. So that
it was to symbolize the third G20 session called One Future. UK's Prime Minister of Indian origin, Rishi Sunak, visited the Akshardham temple in the national capital, New Delhi. Prime Minister Sunak, along with his wife Akshata Murthy, offered his prayers at the site. This is Rishi Sunak's first official visit to India as UK's Prime Minister. He met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday on the sidelines of the ongoing G20 Summit. Well, to put all into perspective on what happened in the last 2 days in the G20 Summit, joining us this afternoon is Rajiv Nayan, Senior Research Fellow from IDSA. Also, Amrit Pal Singh, our correspondent, tracking events as it unfolded on Ground Zero, joining us there from India, or Bharat Mandapam there. Let me first come to you, Rajiv. Purely looking at the G20 legacy that India leaves and that Brazil takes forward, purely in terms of that, what would be that one striking image, that one takes forward from this particular summit, that's the G20 summit in New Delhi?
Like Modi has passed on greater responsibility to Brazil. The way India conducted its affairs here in India, and the way it organized different events, and the way it worked on different agendas or different issues, and the in-depth work it had done in last, you can say, in 8-10 months, it was really commendable. And once you see the declaration, you will find in reflection of the hard work which India had put in the last 8 to 10 months. So then now Brazil has to implement all the agreements or all the issues which all have agreed in India. So this is definitely a bigger responsibility passed on to Brazil, and Brazil has to really take it forward, and different differences which will be surfacing, and the biggest challenge will be to how to manage all the differences so that they don't have a shadow on the next year's outcome document. The first achievement which India has done is to just overcome all the differences and create, or you can say, to forge a consensus document. And the most important, second, the most important achievement of this presidency is to put the limelight on Global South. And Africa Union joined it. Now Brazil is also considered part of Global South. So who is better? And so that somehow that competition or that kind of comparison will be there in the coming future. India did so much. Could Brazil do it? Our best wishes, as Prime Minister has also expressed, our best wishes are for Brazil that it carries forward the task. But yeah, it will be a big challenge. Big challenge in the context of many global challenges which are just now existing in the world, and it has to overcome. If Russian-Ukraine conflict ends, then it will have a smoother sail. But if it doesn't, then it will have to manage it. So, and how it manages it, that will be one great challenge for Brazil. Second will be like creating a kind of atmosphere, kind of new atmosphere, so that economic interactions take place among all the countries. Now it is not just G20, now it is G21, and not only G21. There are 55 countries plus 26, 27 minus, you can say, 4. Then there are so many countries which are to be involved. So it has become a mini UN. So carrying forward this mini UN will be another challenge for G20, new G20 leadership, and how it does it. So that we will have to see.
Well, we also got Akshay Dongre, our correspondent there, joining us. Let me first go to Amrit Pal. Amrit, looking at India's G20 presidency, the many achievements that we all look forward to, but purely in terms of shaping tech policies across the world, do you think India used its presidency as to create a new direction, especially when it comes to that area of tech policies?
Absolutely. India, put the spotlight clearly on technological transformation and using technology for and a human-centric approach for delivering services to the people, to those sections of society who were, bereft of those services. Or, it was quite a circuitous route for them to get access to those services, be it access to education, access to healthcare, access to be it financial inclusion. So India used that in its domestic policy, and also put the focus on it during its G20 presidency, and therefore set a sort of benchmark for others, especially the emerging economies, to follow, to use technology to deliver to its populations the services, in putting them in the financial inclusion net, and giving them access to something which otherwise should be accessible, but because of the huge population, because of the huge stress on resources, they would be bereft of them or would have partial access to them. So clearly India has used this one-year presidency of it to put the spotlight on that.
Okay, Akshay also there with us. Akshay, would you say India has used its presidency to become the ideal bridge that connects the G7 along with the Global South?
Well, absolutely. In fact, it has become the ideal bridge as far as the soft power is concerned. It has used everything at its disposal to become that bridge between these divides that have been created in the world. I'm sure, and this is just one of the examples how India has used all of its might. It has used its culture, tradition, rich history to bring all of these countries together. We are at the Craft Mela, and how all the delegates who are here, excuse me, ma'am, if I can just ask a few questions.
I have to go.
On how this experience has been like.
This has been wonderful, and I kind of lost my mind. Things are so beautiful. I want to buy everything.
You want to buy everything?
Yes.
And how was the G20 summit?
The G20 summit was also a very good experience, but it's a pity that we couldn't see anything from the city. Streets were closed and restaurants were closed. That's a pity, I think.
Maybe the next time.
Maybe the next time.
Thank you so much. I'll show you around what else is here on the offering as far as the craft mela is concerned. There is something from each and every state of the country. There is something from each and every corner of our country. These are artisans who have all now come here together to bring their art, bring their craft and offer it to the world. As far as the delegates are concerned, the leaders are coming here, people are using UPI, people are, the delegates who have come here, they're using UPI for the first time. And this is the kind of technology that India has to offer to the world, the developing countries, the global south, and how India has been dealing with its own set of challenges. It has also been offering solutions at the same time.
Okay, challenges as well as solutions that India offers. Let me get Amrit back. Amrit, looking at bilaterals that have also taken simultaneously along with this G20 summit that's taken place over the last 3 days. Talking about France in particular, how do you see some of the important points of deliberations that have gone forward, especially or considering the fact, the camaraderie that Emmanuel Macron and Prime Minister Narendra Modi enjoy?
There are 8 bilaterals that have taken place till now, including the ones that took place day before and yesterday, which includes Mauritius, Bangladesh, United States, and then today's first bilateral on day 2 of the summit. After actually the summit closed was a working lunch. Or a luncheon meet with President Emmanuel Macron of Prime Minister Modi. Clearly, the two leaders, we saw at the various public opportunities or opportunities for public display that were open. We saw the sort of camaraderie between the two leaders. It is reflective of course, a close partnership, a strategic partnership between the two countries. Clear congruence of interests of the two countries, and also the two leaders having the same vision for a collective future that reflected in the sort of camaraderie that we saw. And this was clearly evident at the luncheon meeting also. The Prime Ministers held
well, I believe we've lost Amrit there. Let me get back to...
this was the first...
yeah, please go on.
Yeah, please. So I said this was the first luncheon, the meeting over lunch that the Prime Minister held with a visiting head of state. So clearly, giving importance to the relationship India has with France.
Okay.
Anil?
Mr. Nayan, when one takes a look at the post, G20 quotes that we see, especially regards to the Russian foreign minister talking about this summit being a milestone, G20 offering solutions that US President Joe Biden talks about, purely in terms of, ifs and buts and looking forward, India has managed to walk the talk, especially when it comes to the deliverables in terms of communique, as well as, getting all the G20 countries to agree on the same page, especially when it comes to a final declaration.
Certainly, it was a kind of symbolic victory. But I think we should understand the very motive, very objective of creating a forum like G20. Its very objective was to bridge differences. Because of geopolitics, unnecessarily all the disputes, all the differences were dragged in the process, in the decision-making process of G20. That was unfortunate. That was unfortunate because you have got several platforms to ventilate your grievances, your anger, your frustration, whatever happens. But suppose this doesn't happen, this outcome document doesn't come out, or whatever declaration doesn't come out, what will the country which doesn't want it will achieve? Definitely nothing, except that you are just sabotaging one platform which has been created or which was created long back to bridge the differences which exist in the world, still exist, at that time also existed in the world. And the motive was to work together to overcome financial, economic, whatever crisis which the world faces or which the world faced at that time. It has started with, of course, we all know by this time that finance ministers and governors of central banks, it started with that, and thereafter it became a summit process. And now when it's become a summit, it's a great opportunity to think together, work together, which can put our minds together, and we can find a solution. This is a solution-oriented approach. Our Prime Minister has human-centric. Now it says these are the issues which you can push in, instead of just holding this forum to a ransom on frivolous issues, which have already been discussed or already have been raised in different forums. So I think it's a great achievement of our Prime Minister, the Indian leadership, the Indian presidency, that it succeeded in convincing all the groups, including Russia. Russia was indirectly mentioned, but not directly mentioned. Once you read, so you have one. So
I'll ask all three of you, Rajiv, Nayan, Amritpal, as well as Akshay, to stay with us. Let me just go ahead and take a look at this tic-tac. U.S. Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti, spoke exclusively to DD India. The U.S. envoy talked about the strengthened relations between the two countries. He added that multilateralism is evolving and U.S. considers India to be a great ally.
We have with us U.S. Ambassador to India, Eric Garcetti. Thank you for speaking to us. The relationship between India and the United States has never been better than before. Quite a lot of meetings in the last 1 year, more bilaterals than we've actually seen. Prime Minister Modi was in America. We've seen a lot of series of meetings happening between the two. How do you think the relationship is moving forward? This rapprochement, how would you look at it?
I think every time I think it's reached the highest point it can reach, it goes even higher. This is a relationship based on two leaders who genuinely love being with each other, but also two governments that increasingly love working together, from climate to women's empowerment, from security and military to issues of financial reforms. We proved by coming here not only the warmth towards India, but we saw India's leadership. And I think this relationship is about each of us following each other, building on each other's strengths, and not just bringing that to our countries, but to the world.
Right, and the American media talks about India being the bulwark against China. Of course, there's an elaborate discussion and analysis waiting on that. But how do you view that, given the kind of developments we've seen? We've had the ICET earlier last year. We also had the Quad meeting. We had the I2U2. How are we moving forward in all these initiatives, especially with the heightened activity in the Indo-Pacific? Has the interest increased a lot over the years, according to you?
No question. We love the Indo-Pacific as a region. I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm on the eastern edge of the Indo-Pacific, and here we are close to the western edge of it. But we're united by values that the seas should be free for all people, that countries should play by the rules, they should respect borders and sovereignty, and that we should build an economy that works for everyone. India inspires me when I see how the economy is bringing those up from the bottom. And we certainly have a president of the United States who wants to bring the bottom up and the middle out. When we have a strong middle class in both countries, it shows that prosperity isn't just for the few. And with other countries, we might have points of interest. We both want peaceful relations with China, where we all play by the same rules. But our relationship doesn't depend on any third country. It's between India and the United States. It's real, it's warm, it's genuine, and it's growing.
Okay, but both countries do see multilateralism in crisis. Would you agree?
I think multilateralism is actually evolving, and I think we see it in a good way. In the United States, we engage in multilateralism. Sometimes others say, oh, West versus the rest. This was proof at G20. The United States looks at the entire world and cares about the entire world, whether it's advocating for India's independence, decades ago, or now looking at the ways that we can diversify our supply chains, work together on health solutions, climate solutions. This is based in friendship and real, genuine goodwill. But I think it's also incredibly strategic, because we know it's not just America plus India, it's America times India when we get together.
Thank you, Ambassador, for speaking to us and taking our time. That was U.S. Ambassador to India telling us about the relationship between the two countries and how it has evolved over the years, and we're going to see more initiatives between the two in the coming future. This is Jessica Thaneja for DD India.
Well, we still got Amritpal there and also our guest Rajiv Nayan with us. Let me first come to Amritpal. Amrit, to get everybody to agree on the declaration, would you say this particular G20 is a diplomatic win for Prime Minister Modi and for India?
I think it's a diplomatic victory for India, given the fact that it got the consensus very early into the summit. Generally, that is pretty unusual. It was able to get a consensus between when the divisions run very, very deep. Of course, not everybody is, the text isn't what everybody would have liked or both sides would have liked, but there I think India, emerging as the voice of the global south, asserted itself along with the others from the emerging economy, the other emerging economies, that this agreeable text has to be brought in, and it may look like a compromise text, but that's what diplomacy is all about. Still leaving the door ajar, even if nobody goes completely happy home. But everybody is satisfied at least. So I think in that sense, it's a victory for India. It's a victory for India to get the countries from the African Union or the African Union as a permanent member of the G20 and now effectively becoming a G21. So I think, on climate finance, for example, the pledging of a $5 trillion amount, or on agreeing on the which is called the Green Development Pact. Putting women-led development at the focus, starting a women and raising the engagement of women 20, which was an engagement group, to the official level, or upgrading it to a women startup. So I think there were quite many things that India was able to achieve. Get the life or lifestyle for environment principle approved, which was proposed first by Prime Minister Modi at the Glasgow conference of the COP. So I think one would say that for India, the outcome of the summit and the summit itself has been a fairly productive one, and secondly, in that sense, it is a victory, NL.
Okay. Mr. Nayan, when, purely from a perspective of understanding, this particular new initiative, especially when it comes to, the India, Middle East, Europe initiative that's been created, how does one take a look at it? The corridor that we are talking about, is it an answer to China's Belt and Road initiative, or would you look at it as a new route that's been created purely to help trade and development?
Look, this is an age of connectivity, and this is an age of building different corridors so that people can work together, people can walk together, people can travel together. So definitely we should see it from different perspective. We should not see it from a competitive perspective, whether it is an answer to BRI of China or not. BRI of China is facing too many problems. So I don't think we should compare it with BRI. It's a good initiative. And in fact, it is just consolidation of efforts made by United States and other countries also, countries which are falling in that zone, European countries. The European Union has a very ambitious project on connectivity. And in fact, it had approached India. And in fact, it was in India's program also, that how we can expand or increase the scope of different aspects of connectivity. So it has been, and in fact, it had several reports on it, working on that. And now we just connected it to Middle East, which broadly we know this is West Asia and North Africa. So this is quite a significant area, and it is a zone of competition. Yes, there is very much there, but at the same time, it is also a zone of cooperation. Different kind of geopolitics is emerging there, where countries are now playing their own cards. I will find a country like Saudi Arabia, which is part of G20, and even United Arab Emirates, which is a part of this corridor. These two countries are now working with United States. It's an old partner, both are old partners of United States. but now they are also tilting towards China and Russia also. So then what is the message coming out of it is that they want business.
Okay.
So all want business. So, okay, fine, if it is business, so let us do business. So this corridor will definitely help the business, smooth transition of goods, good transportation, people's movement, and many kind of very fast interactions, which are need of the hour. Europeans have done it. Even I'm sorry, Americas, not America, United States, Americas, NAFTA. They have also emphasized on this. This is the regional network of roads coming. Asian Development Bank had a very long, old, ambitious program, but somehow, somewhere, it is not doing so well as it was planned to be so. But it's there. India is also trying in the Eastern corridor. That's in that part of Southeast Asia side. But now it is in the Western corridor. So that will be very interesting to watch how it evolves.
Okay, G20, India's moment of pride, India's moment when things look pretty fractured, especially at the G20 summit level. Many expected this particular summit almost on its last leg, but the Delhi declaration clearly showing intent when it comes to fight back, and a great initiative purely in terms of declaration, getting everybody on board as we look forward to the next summit in Brazil. Thank you, Rajiv Nayan, for joining us. Also, Amritpal Singh, Akshay Dongre, for getting us those live inputs non-stop over the last 2 days there from Bharat Mandapam. Staying with that story on G20, the coverage of G20 in 4K format has been quite a success. DD India used this opportunity as a launch pad, and DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke to India's Information and Broadcasting Secretary Apurva Chandra. Let's listen in.
It has been a successful ending of G20 Delhi, and I have with me the Secretary of Information and Broadcasting. Let's talk to him and find out, because the world has appreciated this event, and I have also spoken to some of the foreign journalists, and they are very appreciative about it. Sir, the international media has responded very positively. So as the Secretary of the department, how do you feel?
The success of the G20 summit, of course, has been in the document which has been signed and concluded under the guidance of, under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, and that has been agreed to by all the nations who are participating here. But apart from that, the facilities here are world class. I had said this 3-4 days before the summit that this will set the gold standard, and I am sure that all the reporters who are here, they will vouch for that this media center is the best, which the kind of media center which they would not get anywhere else in the world.
Sir, it was quite an achievement for Doordarshan also. From HD we moved to 4K. So how would you react to that?
It is a landmark achievement for Doordarshan to move from HD to 4K. I think it is a moment like Asiad, where we moved from black and white to color. And I think now, since Doordarshan has shown its capability in making 4K transmission, and that transmission has been used throughout the world. So this will change a paradigm, and I think Doordarshan will keep doing well and use more and more 4K technology in future.
Well, absolutely. And one last question. The new baby of Doordarshan, DD India, it was quite a litmus test for it, and it was also the launching pad. So how do you feel now?
DD made a lot of efforts to revamp the DD India as its international channel, and this was the absolutely right time when the G20 event was happening, and as the entire world was watching India and also Doordarshan. And I think DD India has done very well, and it is a launch pad which will make Doordarshan respected not only in India but throughout the world.
Well, absolutely, and why not? This was the test, and we have passed it in flying colors. With cameraman Ajit in Delhi, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Well, a moment to smile, a moment to cheer for DD India there. Moving forward, meanwhile, inside the International Media Center at Bharat Mandapam, the G20 Summit venue, virtual photo booth gives opportunity to get people clicked with different layouts of Bharat Mandapam. Tapas Bhattacharya gets you more from inside the phone booth.
The virtual photo booth in the International Media Center in Bharat Mandapam is a major hit. In fact, people are queuing up here to get a click a photo here. You can see there's, people are standing here in front of that this green background. And how this is going to work, you can see there is this person who is clicking the photo with a clean green background and then superimposing it on a background that is already there. And voila, submitted. And after you get the photo clicked, you just come here, scan this particular QR code, and it will ask you to scan your face on your mobile, and then you get it done, and then it will provide you your photo that you clicked here. How cool is that? It's technology prowess. It's showing India's technology prowess in Bharat Mandapam, and it's a cool way of showcasing that. With our person, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for GD India.
Well, tea is the unofficial national drink of India. Different varieties of the hot beverage are also available at the G20 venue, that's Bharat Mandapam, for all leaders, delegates and media contingents to sample. Tapush sends this report.
It's an elixir for a lot of people, especially in the morning. You need tea to get yourself freshen up and find yourself energetic. And right now I'm at the Bharat Mandapam, where there's a Yule company's tea stall here, and it's been quite a hit here. Why it is a hit? Because it's one of the oldest companies, and it's only Government of India company which still working. And to get you more update on that, I have with me Mr. Debojit Nag is here. Mr. Debojit Nag, tell us how, there are a lot of people coming here.
Yes.
How excited you feel when all these delegates, G20 delegates coming here and asking for your tea, taking samples from you?
We are immensely proud to represent our company, which is a Government of India enterprise, and the only company which is a PSU, but still making a wonderful quality of tea in the market. This is the ideal platform for us to project our teas to the customers, to the European customers. We make most of our teas are CTC type of teas, that is for the domestic and the European market. And we make a very small quantity, about 1 lakh kg of Darjeeling tea, which is for the niche market. In Darjeeling, though the leaf is coming from the same bush, but different types of quality is made from the same type of leaf. There is white tea, which has got a huge health benefit, the green tea, which has got a health benefit. There are black teas. These are the different types of teas, which is absolutely customized for the particular type of person, particular type of country. In Germany, you have the people, most of the time they like the first class type of teas. So these are the ideal quality for the German market, for the European market.
Right. Mr. Nag, tell us also, it's a very old company. I believe it's more than 150-year-old. Am I right?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Andrew and Company Limited was started by a Scottish gentleman called Mr. Andrew Yule, who started this company in the year 1863. Thereafter, it was one of the highest revenue-paying company in the country at one point of time. Thereafter, after independence, it got nationalized in the year 1979, and our engineering division was our main division. That's the reason we are under Department of Heavy Industries. Now, tea accounts for about 60% of the total business.
Right, and it's a huge, number of people who we see coming here buying your tea. The market is quite huge. You are actually showcasing one of India's a niche market to the world. What they are saying, what kind of excitement they are seeing.
We have the tea market is huge for in Europe and Iran. Last year we had a very good export to Iran. Unfortunately, this year the Iran market is not as good as it was last year. However, the export to countries like Poland and UK is still continuing. We are very much hopeful that in the coming days we'll be able to export more.
Yes, so that is Mr. Nag telling us that this particular tea is, it's as I mentioned, it's an elixir for a lot of people. It showcases India's soft power, and here in Bharat Mandapam, the delegates are actually relishing this tea. With camera person Rahul Chopra, this is Tapush Bhattacharya for GD India from Bharat Mandapam, Delhi.
Well, time now for us to slip into a time for us to take a break. On the other side, lots more lined up from the world of news. Stay with us. You're watching DD India. I'm Anil Thomas. Moving forward to international stories, the Moroccan government has declared 3 days of national mourning after a massive earthquake rocked the North African country. The death toll has surpassed 2,000 people, while around 1,500 people are injured.
Hundreds of families in Marrakesh, in western Morocco, are spending sleepless nights outdoors after the devastating quake turned their lives upside down.
My kids were afraid. I could not leave them to go to work, so I stayed with them. I remained by their side, but when it comes to food, the shops close their doors. Here we are, enduring hunger and thirst.
Friday's earthquake is Morocco's deadliest in at least 6 decades. The epicenter was 72 kilometers southwest of Marrakesh. The major tremor turned many buildings into rubble, including a UNESCO World Heritage Site in the heart of the old city. Rescue workers are racing against time to find the survivors while the death toll is rising. Countries across the world, including India, the US, Germany, and France, have offered assistance. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the disaster from the G20 Summit in New Delhi.
औपचारिक कार्रवाई शुरू से पहले हम सभी की ओर से कुछ देर पहले मोरक्को में आए भूकंप से प्रभावित लोगों के प्रति मैं अपनी हार्दिक संवेदना प्रकट करना चाहता हूं। हम प्रार्थना करते हैं कि सभी इंजर्ड लोग शीघ्र स्वस्थ हो। इस कठिन समय में पूरा विश्व समुदाय मोरक्को के साथ है और हम उन्हें हर संभव सहायता पहुंचाने के लिए तैयार हैं।
Thousands of people need help. The quake has left them in a desperate situation, one that will take many years to recover from. Abhishek Bose for DD India.
Well, the death toll in Morocco stands at 2,012 and counting. The injured are now slowly inching towards that 2,000 plus mark. We've got Alex Cadia joining us for more from Marrakesh. Alex, how does one take a look at this particular rising numbers? Are those rescue and relief operations that are, going on, are they finding it difficult, especially when it comes to clearing those debris and looking for people or survivors?
Yeah, well, there's certainly two different pictures in Marrakesh and an hour south of here. This city here, you can see there is some damage. That mosque had a 3-meter tower on top of it, which collapsed because of the earthquake and collapsed onto the pickup truck behind me as well. Now, that is the kind of limited damage you see around Marrakesh. People are, however, sleeping in the streets. They are worried about their houses and they are worried that any aftershocks might cause damage to their homes, and that is really the main concern for people here in Marrakesh, not so much the damage itself. If you travel an hour south of here, however, that is much more serious indeed. In those remote Atlas Mountains, those very hard to reach villages, they're hard to reach in normal times, even harder now, and clearing the roads, clearing the rubble is the main focus for those authorities, racing to try and clear the rubble and save any survivors from the earthquake now over a day after the tremors started. So that is the main concern. It is difficult to get a clear picture of exactly how that progress is going on. We know that Morocco has started asking for international help from some of its partners, but it's very much a situation here in Marrakesh where some locals have actually come up to us and said, please tell your viewers in India that Marrakesh is still going. There is some damage, but we are still going. The market around me is going, and that's also the reputational concern is one that people here in Marrakesh feel very strongly. So a difficult picture in the mountains, but Marrakesh trying to rebuild, trying to clean up and go back to normal as quickly as possible.
Okay, Alex, also with regards to the Indian embassy, or other embassies, have they released or, given some helpline numbers that people can, look forward to in search of their loved ones?
Yeah, that was put in place very early on. We've seen embassies across Morocco reaching out to their residents there. There hasn't been an immediate evacuation plan, for example, which shows there may not be an immediate concern for risk to life or risk to more things, more tremors. But certainly all these diplomatic things being put in place, going on those foreign ministry websites will help residents or Indians in Morocco being able to address their concerns, as it were. That is certainly one of the pictures, one of the international response. But certainly the international response from India has been one of offering its support as quickly as possible. We remember that India was one of the first countries, if not the first country, to send crews to Turkey in that devastating earthquake, and so has some experience and has some expertise in helping out with rescue efforts like this. We saw Prime Minister Modi interrupting the first session of the G20 to offer his support and India's support to the people here in Morocco. And speaking to people locally, they are very much welcoming of that support. They welcome the support from the international community. The government is taking a little bit longer to ask for help through those official channels, but certainly those rescue efforts will continue, and that expertise from India and elsewhere will also be needed.
You know, Alex, also with regards to, we spoke about relief and rescue measures, but purely in terms of tales of horror that people narrate, 10 seconds, everything is gone for them. You know, how are they taking stock now?
Well, what's really interesting about the situation in this city is that there is, of course, grief. There's, of course, pain. Hearing from locals, you see a lot of people on their phones trying to get news as quickly as possible about their loved ones. But there are different parts of this country, of course, that are been affected in different ways. But as I said, the people in Marrakesh are actually too concerned to go back to their homes. They're worried that this is not just one earthquake, that there will be aftershocks and that their buildings were not constructed. I saw an elderly man on a wheelchair staying the night outside on a little patch of grass by one of the boulevards with his 2-year-old granddaughter on his lap, saying, well, we don't feel safe going home. So there's two elements. There's the initial grief, of course, the devastation of the earthquake, but also the fear or the apprehension about what might come next. And it feels, at least certainly last night, felt like a country on eggshells. Now it feels like a city wanting to rebuild.
Thank you and appreciate you joining us. DD India's Alex Cadia there from reporting live from Marrakesh on that tragedy that struck the country of Morocco. Well, also a quick update there on the Morocco update. Indian actress has tweeted about this particular incident, and she thanked Prime Minister Modi. Nora Fatehi, the actor there, thanking Prime Minister Modi for being one of the first countries, especially when it's coming forward and helping Morocco in this hour of trial. Shifting focus to Asia Cup updates, India-Pakistan mouth-watering encounter on Super Sunday, currently on at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. Pakistan winning the toss, deciding to bowl first. Rohit and Shubman there in the middle. India going strong, started strongly in that match, 77 without loss. Two batsmen there going strong, and it's going to be an interesting contest between bat and ball. Rohit Sharma along with Shubman Gill giving India that great start that we were looking forward to. India making 2 changes to their playing 11. KL Rahul, Jasprit Bumrah making an inroad into the playing 11 in place of Mohammad Shami and Shreyas Iyer stepping out due to a back spasm that the team management has said that Shreyas is suffering from. Well, that's all in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can also connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Anil Thomas. From all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.